All right, how's it going? This is Forrest Dunning, and I did my newspaper evolution project on the LA Times front pages, and it spans from 1881 to 2018. So starting off with the first paper, it's from December 4th, 1881 of the Los Angeles Times. And so just looking at the ratio from editorials to advertisements, it's about 40 to 60, with a little over half the page is devoted to advertisements and a little under half the page is devoted to editorials. So the types of ads on the paper are products and services such as dressmakers, liquor, farm produce, boots, and even coal. So if you look here, you can see a couple of them, such as the First National Bank, another bank, city meat markets, when to save money, liquor dealers, so on and so forth. The page uses very limited illustrations. You can only see small ones, such as the city meat market, like the little pig, the little drums of liquor, but nothing too crazy. No actual photographs. In the layout of the page, all the columns are the same width, the same fonts used for the headlines. However, the font is just a little bit larger for the headline. The layout's very uniform and constant, and all editorials are located on the left side of the page, and all advertisements are on the right side of the page, with the transition found in the middle. Some of the news stories on the editorials include the Golden Gate Bridge, cutting whales in half, and an unknown man throwing a vial of vitriol into a crowd of people. So pretty interesting stories. And something else notable about the page, it's fairly basic front page. It's straightforward, no large pictures or headlines, and again, very uniform and basic. So moving on to the second newspaper, it's from December 7th, 1953. So it looks a little bit different than the last one. And something interesting that follows the first paper is that the rest of the papers do not include any advertisements on the front page. So in this paper, obviously, you can see no advertisements. It's all editorials and stories and photographs. It contains photographs that supplement the editorials, and there's only two on this newspaper. All the columns are different widths across the page. Different fonts are used in different headlines, and each headline has a different size font. The layout features a large headline on the top of the page. Under this main page is the rest of the editorials. The column pattern goes one single column on the left, followed by two columns on the right. And the pattern continues until one reaches the right side of the page. So some of the stories on here are pretty interesting as well. They feature deaths from a tornado, a bus crash injuring 10 people and killing one, a boy rescued off of a cliff, 4 jet pilots dying in a mysterious crash, and Eisenhower talking to the UN about the atomic bomb. And the front page features a main headline at the top with a large font and bolded. This page differentiates its column size based on the importance of the story, it seems. So pretty different than the first newspaper we saw. A lot more violence, I would say. More photographs obviously are being used, and completely got rid of the advertisements. So moving on to the third newspaper, we have from October 29th, 1981 of the Los Angeles Times. Again, no advertisements, all editorials. Some interesting stories on here have to do with the Dodgers winning the World Series, as well as Reagan winning the AWACS fight, a store paying for a rude cashier, and a Soviet submarine crashing into Swedish naval base. So still similar stories that we see from the last paper from 1953. However, you see implementation of sports and some other different genres of stories. And something else notable, it only uses a single photo. However, the photo takes up a substantial amount of room at the top of the page, so to kind of draw more attention to stories. There's a little close-up on the World Series. And you can see the different formatting with this paper. All the columns are not the same width. Some stories use 2 columns, while others use a single column width. The same font is used in some headlines. However, some stories use different font. All the headline fonts are larger size fonts. The layout of the page features a main headline at the top of the page with a photo to supplement it right under. under the main headline is the rest of the editorials and columns, obviously. So, and so finally, moving on to the final paper, it's from October 18th, 2018. So fairly recent, only a couple of weeks ago. Again, no advertisements, strictly editorials. And the page features 2 large photos and a section featuring 4 small graphs comparing political party voting polls. You can see where Republicans favor De Leon for Senate. Not all the columns are the same width. The same font is used for headlines. The layout includes 3 stories, having a block of space about a quarter of the page. The stories include a photo or a graph to supplement it, and all the stories are on the left of the side, or on the left side of the page. There are 3 stories that each have a single column space on the far right side of the page. So you could definitely see the emphasis on stories on the left side of the page, and that slowly declines as you move right. So some of the stories, obviously Dodgers winning a game in the World Series, Republicans favoring Kevin De Leon, people visiting a haunted South Pasadena house for Halloween, and at the bottom right you can see a small editorial about Trump hinting at cutting fire funding in California. So definitely you can see the focus on sports, or the more main focus on sports. In the later papers, it tends to be more entertaining, and people are drawn to that. And the page features a photos that are colored and not black and white. So this is the first time we've seen colored photos in the LA Times so far. And the page also breaks up space into different size blocks and columns, as opposed to earlier front pages. It sticks solely to columns. So pretty interesting. And here's some more close-ups. And that about does it for the Newspaper Evolution Project. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.